protecting intellectual property and IP management for startups. In today's innovation-driven world, protecting intellectual property is crucial for any startup success and growth. So this session, we aim to gain valuable insights into building strong IP strategies, understanding legal frameworks, and learning how to safeguard innovative ideas from the very beginning. We are honored to have with us Mr. Divyanshu Yadav, a leading patent and trademark attorney and an expert in the field of intellectual property rights. Mr. Yadav is a registered Indian patent agent and currently serves as a partner at SR4 IPR Partners and director at Snapping Brothers Private Limited. With a strong background in mechanical engineering and law, he brings rich experience in patent drafting, trademark prosecutions, IP litigation, and startup advising. He has worked with reputed names like Intel, Patanjali, and the Ministry of Defense, as well as numerous startups and educational institutes. Known for simplifying complex legal concepts, Mr. Yadav is regularly invited to mentor workshops and conduct IP training sessions at forums like AICT Idea Lab and IGNOU. May I now request Ms. Prerna Jain Sharma to kindly present Sir with a sapling as a token of our gratitude and respect. Please give him a huge round of applause.
And the expertise is into the technology transfer, what does the startups need, how to increase their valuation, and how you can make sure that it gets sold to the MNCs companies. So IPR is basically more of a technical background as well as a lawyer background. So we have multiple engineers with us, lawyers helping us in creating a document. I believe you are all from the science background. If you are not, then there is a science side called patent. It is a technological innovation. You will create a technology, and if I cannot understand it, I cannot write it. Thus, we need the science background and engineering background students with us to help us create these documents. Like I said, intellectual property is what you create from your mind, how you create from your mind, and what you have created. There are multiple ways of doing it. And what is insurance and ensures is that you can protect it for a time span of some years, and then you contribute it to the nation's economy as well as the growth of the nation. What does IPR help you with? First, in the current modern era of startups, the impact of evaluations. The moment you file a patent and you make sure that you convince your investors or the VCs that you have a patent, you can have a monopoly for 20 years, they give you a better evaluation. The moment that gets granted, your evaluation increases by a minimum of 5x to 10x. So अगर आपकी कंपनी 5 करोड़ की evaluation पे खड़ी थी, if you get a patent, there is a high possibility that your evaluation can span up to 25 CR to 50 CR. Reason being, now you have a monopoly for 20 years. Apart from that, what IP creates is, it makes sure that you can stop others from using your technology. It makes sure that you don't use your brand name. So, let's suppose somebody made Apple. But Apple doesn't want a brand name to copy. Now, because they've got a trademark registered, they can make sure that you cannot copy their brand name. You have to create your own legacy or whatever. Intellectual property is more like a property. After current, you have your cars, houses, and what you can do with that? Either you can use it, you can sell it out, you can rent it, or you can have an exclusive license or other kind of licenses like Airbnbs and other things. Similarly, with intellectual property also, you can do the same things. You can use it for yourselves, you can sell it to others, you can license it to others. You can also have a cross-transfer technology is in creating the bandwidth and goodwill of your company as well as your product. Nowadays, when we go to buy a mobile phone, you all like to prefer Apple because of their goodwill, their reputation that comes with it. There's a saying in our industry that Apple phones don't hang. They give the best performances. That is what they have earned in the last couple of years and years already. Apart from that, for students, how does it help? For students, it creates a good resume. So all of you are students here, and a lecturer is going to come in or an interviewer is going to come in. You all have the same background. Now he needs a technical differentiation. Why you are different? Why should he hire you? And once you have an idea on your name, the interview will go in that direction. What is your idea about? What have you done? And if you have actually done those projects, this helps you in getting a better job, better packages. Apart from that, it goes into your own industry. So if I go into the book industry, there is a possibility that you're going to ask me something related to business management or something like that. But when he goes into the IPR industry, he will ask you about what you have done, why you have done it, and what are the benefits of it. IPR certificate, why do you need them? The reason is, let's suppose you have a car and it gets lost. You go to an police station and you have to lodge an IPR. What do you do? The first thing the inspector is going to ask you is, can you show me the RC, the registration certificate of the car? So anytime you want to stop somebody, you have to first prove that I'm the actual owner of it. And thus you need these IPR certifications. Now there are many ways, there are multiple types of IPR into it. IPR is intellectual property, like I said, bhautik sampada and data that you create. But there are multiple ways to create it. Somebody is going to create the technology side of it. Either a system, either a new product, either a new process, either a new composition or a whole product. So they go into the patent industry, patent industry. Sabyasachi, Ritu, Ritumina. These are all epic designer moves. And why do they get it done so that nobody can copy them? Ritu Bedi has a policy that if anybody can, if you can show them that they have copied the exact product, neither SN, CP or any other locality, Chandis or then you can tell them and your address is free, apart from that you will get a large compensation as well. The next is trademark, like I told you, Apple, Samsung, Sony, Nike, Puma. What they make sure is that you are getting a brand name on it. You pay a heavy price for it, Louis Vuitton. You're ready to pay an extra 50,000 rupees, 70,000 rupees just for that brand name part. And they make sure that they protect their brand. Copyright is for all the artistic people in the house. If you love to write, if you love to sing, if you love to create videos, artists, you can have these protections. Circuits is for the industries where the circuit is largely related, and geographical indication is, in India if you talk about Agra ka peka, Banarsi sari, Kashmiri, silk, these are all oriented from a particular geographical indication. And if I talk about you guys will be very interested in buying as a locality in a country, and that is why all the alcohol produced from that particular orientation is known as wine. Because that can only be produced with the highest quality in that location only. Darjeeling tea can only be produced in Darjeeling. You can copy the same process but you won't get the same results. So we're going to first discuss about patents. Patent is for the technology side, like I told you guys, any product or process. Now what are the three things that you need to get a patent for? When we check about a patent, the first is the novelty or uniqueness. It should not be a copy of some US product, UK product or any other country. It has to be new, it has to be unique, you have created something new in it. The second is the inventive step. So I'm going to give you an example. There is a kid in Gujarat now, he has a whole industry. He walked in night and he always had a problem that fear that he might get lost or he might accidentally step on something and then fall down. So what they used to give it is a stick along with a cloth that was then taped up in that stick. Now that is new. So they have created something new out of it. But that was not inventive for the purpose that the stick and cloth were not working dependent to each other. They were not interdependent. They were independently being served and they were just connected for the purpose. What he did then was, at the bottom of the stick, he connected a dynamo. That dynamo was then connected to a battery and that battery was then connected to a line. So every time that stick was being pressed or it was stepping on the ground, that battery was getting charged. The patent where you have created an inventive step, it is not an obvious thing that any person may do. And third is industrial applicability. At any given situation, industrial applicability is not a challenge because nowadays everything is into the industry. You will only create solutions for the problems you are facing in the industry or in the product sector. So like I said, product. So any apparatus that you have on yourselves, any devices, instruments, apparatus, systems, chemical composition, drugs, and food related products. I want to now bring you all to your attention. अगर मैं बातें कर रहे हैं, it's very fine. अब क्या आपने बोला है? And just put it on the table. I'm not asking you to stop using it. Now this patent has how many patents? Can you guess? आपके स्कूल के अंदर so apparently this code contains thousands of patents that have been plugged together into one particular device. The screen is from the Samsung. The sound system is from the Dolby. The camera is from Sony or Ericsson or Nokia. The wireless system, the Wi-Fi is from ZTE's company. So this product, a single product comprises of thousands of patents. So anytime you find an innovation in a particular industry or for a specific niche also, you can make a patent out of it. Now the phone has an operating system. Apple has iOS, Android has Androids have Androids have another operating system like XIMI, UI. These are all copyright because they are literature work. The brand name that you see is the trademark. OnePlus, Samsung, Apple, Nokia. And the fourth is the designs. If you look all of your phones together, they will not be the same if they do not have the same model number. They will have a differentiating feature. The reason is because every brand wants to protect their designs. They do not want a copy out of it. This is the filing process. I don't think you guys require the filing process, but if you have any questions regarding the patent, I want to do this on a one-step basis. If you are interested or if you want to know anything about the patent industry, let me know. I can tell you it right. And if not, then I can move to the next topic of this.
What is the timeline like from when you're filing for a patent and from when you're granted a patent? What is the
The day you file the patent, the timeline starts and it is granted to you for 20 years. And the date of the filing, from that day onwards, 20 years. You have the monopoly of that product. Nobody else can copy it. And it is like your car. You have to protect your own car. You don't protect it, nobody is going to come and tell you that somebody is copying it. You have to protect it on your own. Next is design. Any product that you are seeing right now is a design. From this mouse, the bags, the phones, pencils, cables, chairs, the cameras, these are all design elements. There's a very unique pencil of Apsara, which usually in my time something and I'm going to later to you guys. So in my time, Natraj was the most famous pencil, and Natraj has an hexagon structure. But nowadays, Apsara wanted to create something new. So what they did was, they changed the design of the pencil into a triangle shape. And what that has created is a distinguished feature. That now Apsara has a triangular shaped pencil. And that is how you create your industry specific. Now that triangle belongs to Apsara. The hexagon belongs to Natraj. Somebody else should have to create another kind of a shape and then only they can launch their own pencil. They cannot exactly copy it. Like I said, this is very famous in the clothing industry, automobile industry, jewelry industry, which pleases to your eyes, and your product is getting sold only for the outer exterior of the things. That is where design is very essential, because you cannot copy the exact copy. Even if you go to SN Palika, they will always say a first copy, a second copy, a third copy. That means they have created some differentiating feature, it is not the exact copy. So any industry, any product that you see can be designed in our industry. You just have to establish one thing, that it is new. Same process, you can do a search to find out if it is popular in India or not. The government also does it for you. You can file it as a design registry. Then the examination will take place. If they have any restrictions, they'll let you know. And if everything is sorted out, it will be granted to you for the next 15 years. That particular product design will belong to you. And this is only for the product industry. It does not have any other essence out of it. Anywhere the product is there, this is the important part. Anybody has any questions regarding the design topic? The next is the trademark industry. Trademarks is also known as the brand names that you create for your brand. Every startup is going to have a brand name, because at the end of the day, you want people to remember you by your brand name. And that is why trademarks are very important. And there are multiple ways to protect it. We call this an umbrella protection. A simple Tata word or Tata company everybody must have that has been created and protected in 32 ways. Logos, shapes, different structures. Logos, shapes, different structure, multiple ways of doing it. The first type of trademark is word mark. The simple alphabetic combination of the word that you choose. Okay. The second is the slogan. So I will name it one by one. So Subway, however they write it, SUBWAY, is the word mark. That is where the word mark belongs to them. Then they had this slogan line that was a server day. That is the slogan line of their brand. You can protect that as well. The Subway's S is very uniquely created. That is the device mark. Then Subway along with the Subway design logo. In the product industry, if you look at nowadays, Cadbury, if you are launching a chocolate, don't go for blue color. The moment you choose a blue color, Cadbury will kind of file a case against you. If you are going in the tea industry, you do not copy red packaging. Tata Nature is very cautious that they don't want their packaging of red color to be copied by any other industry. And that is why this is very important. Multiple ways of doing it. This is granted to you for 10 years and it can be renewed to lifetime as long as you renew it year on year basis. After every 10 years, you will stop renewing it. Coca-Cola in India or US for the last 120 to 30 years, they have kept on renewing their trademarks and they have kept on getting it. Soundmark is very important. That came out in the recent years. Apple के भी बहुत सुनते समझ में आता है Apple का फोन है. Microsoft के जब लैपटॉप या फोन्स ओपन होते हैं तो समझ में आता है Microsoft के, because these were oriented from the particular industry. Now इसमें एक बहुत important topic है, that is shape of goods. Design 15 साल के लिए मिलता था, बट कुछ ऐसे प्रोडक्ट्स बने मार्केट के अंदर कोकोला की बॉटल या फूड, they are now selling for that particular design only. So design 15 साल में खत्म हो गए. Now what do you guys do? So the industry formulated that we want to have a shape of goods. This is a very expensive process. But once you get establishment, every day में trademark renew हो रहा है, तो आपका product आपके design से जाना जाएगा. Anywhere your company or your product or your services are selling to your particular branding, you can get a trademark out of it. Very simple logic. Anybody has any questions regarding this topic?
Can two companies have the same word mark if they're in different industries?
Yes. So there are 45 classes in trademark industry. Each product, house is in a different class, pen is in a different class. But there are few names known as well-known marks. You cannot now have Apple. You cannot now have Louis Vuitton. You cannot now have Samsung in any other specific industry because they have outgrown their industry and become a global brand. So any global brand names, it does not. But if you have a very small industry specific names that is working in either in one industry and then you want to copy the same name in another industry, it's very highly possible. This is important that you do it. Now, what is very important here is that if you look at device marks, these are all very artistic look, and that is why you can get a copyright out of it. This is what is not allowed as per the laws of India. You do not copy a brand name. You do not. I see lot of the startup founders coming to this. मैंने ना उसके अंदर S लगा दिया है, मैंने उसके अंदर IN लगा दिया है. These are not known as prefix and suffix. So anytime you're copying a particular name and adding a prefix suffix out of it, not allowed. These are known as similar and dissimilar trademarks. This is a very interesting case that is currently happening. Starbucks versus Starbucks. Why does the Starbucks buck over it? Just to create an infinity that this is a similar brand of Starbucks. Just to get a particular reputation out of it. This is not allowed. If you go to Palika ऐसे आपको new K, Nike, next पता नहीं क्या मिल रहा होगा. So this is not allowed, and you should not even do it. When you're creating a brand for another person, you want that somebody else should copy your not brand, or brand should not be a copy of some well-known brand or something. The next is the copyrights. So copyrights is basically any artistic work. I'll give an example of one industry where these all three fall in. एक राइटर गाना लिखता है, वो उसका कॉपीराइट. एक सिंगर उस गाने को गाता है, वो उसका अलग कॉपीराइट है, because he only for the song out of it. And then a music label comes in and then says कि आप दोनों मुझे अपने कॉपीराइट भेज दो, I'll make a video out of it, then वो उसका कॉपीराइट बन जाता है. So this is a very interesting case out of it. These are all the industry where you can get a copyright. Literary work, musical work, artistic work, sound recording, recording of live performances, and this is an industry where even after your death, your future generation will get a revenue. Patent is for 20 years, trademark you have to renew after every 10 years, design and own for 10 plus 5 maximum of 15 years, but copyright is for the lifetime of yours plus the 16 years after your death. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, he wrote a book in jail, and till 2007 and 8, Gandhi family got a royalty out of it because it was a copyright, because it was a book, it was selling. So every time the book was selling, the publication house was earning money, and then a royalty was being passed to the Gandhi family. But this is for the people who have creative mindsets out of it. Like I said, anytime you are creating anything new, there is a possibility that we can get some kind of IPR for it. Same process.
Sorry. For musical works, there are certain distributors, producers, songwriters involved. So, how are the royalties based?
So, anytime when you are giving out your product, so royalty is basically like a license fees, right? So when a company is going to go in, it is going to say to you that हमारा पैसा खर्च होगा for the branding, marketing and all that stuff. So on the same value, you get a maximum of minimum of 7% or maximum of 12%. Let's suppose you wrote a song, somebody made a great video and it is now being sent. So every time he makes 100 rupees, he is either going to shell out 7 rupees to you or 12 rupees depending on how good of a lawyer you have. Because everybody wants to सबसे कम पैसा में do, so they will push you to 7. It's yours and your lawyer's job to make sure कि आप 12 रुपए तक भी ले सकते हैं, and that is where the agreements, licensing and everything will happen. In this, a public search cannot be done because this is very secretive. Like a lot of time, the coders in our industry, we हमारा code को copy कर देगा. This industry is very specific. They do not have any public database. They have their own databases, even we can't access it. So you have to only submit it. Then they will tell you the problem what they have, and then if everything goes by the rules and everything, you get a copyright certificate out of it. Your life plus 60 years after your death, you have the copyright concept. There is a case of Chetan Bhagat, 5 point someone. That book was then made into a movie. In the contract per se, it was not about the money, but in the contract it was stated that when the movie is going to finish, Chetan Bhagat's name will be on the screen for 12 seconds. I don't know if this is true or not, but they say that his mother went to the movie hall, tried to find his son name. She could not figure it out. She came back, she told Chetan Bhagat that the name was not there at all. He went on, saw the movie. The screen time was only of 7 seconds. The contract was breached. The contract was breached, thus the compensation along with the apology letter was sent to Chetan Bhagat. There are multiple brands who only have copyrights. India as a specific country does not, the software industry does not federally for the patent. So anytime you have an operating system or a coding system, copyright is mandatory for you along with patents. A lot of time the startups what they feel is कि हमने trademark करा लिया तो हमें copyright की जरूरत नहीं है, हमने copyright करा लिया तो हमें patent की जरूरत नहीं है. No. Your product, this particular rule that I said you, this product has all the 4 ideas into it. That you should protect so that nobody gets copied. This is very important for you guys to understand that having multiple protections is better than having only one single protection that can be good. We as lawyers, I mean specialized in it. There is a problem and then we will take out how to formulate a way around it. That is why you have to make sure that you are protecting yourself from each and every side of the legal aspect or a breach that can happen. Idea is not for somebody, they say कि आपको idea की जरूरत है या नहीं. Idea is needed for the fact that it is an intangible asset. You can't see it. Right? You can't feel it. Your property you can feel it. Your car and bike or automobile you can feel it. But this is not an actual product. This is an intangible asset. It is the property. It works into the same rules and regulations of property, but it's an intangible asset. You can't see it. You can't feel it. You just can have a certificate of it. Now, like I said, trademarks can also be copyrighted. And for startups, one of the biggest things you guys do is you straight away launch your product in the market. Patent and designs are two industries where new is very important. So the moment you have launched your product in the market, you have breached that aspect, and then I cannot get a patent out of it. Reason being, आपने खुद ही अपना market में launch कर दिया product, now you want a protection that cannot be done. Copyrights and trademarks are two industries where if you can prove that I have been doing this for last 5 years along with the proof, you get a registration from that day onwards. 5 साल पहले की वजह से. Everybody knows Bacha. Bacha made a song with Jacqueline Fernandez. There was an Assamese folk song used in it. That Assamese folk song belonged to that Assamese local singer. Bacha never gave him the credit, nor there's high possibility he heard about it. He has got famous because that song became famous. Bacha had to pay an undisclosed amount of money to that particular local folk singer because there was a YouTube video showing that he had sung that song like 15 years back. That is why he had to pay and undisclosed amount, gave a credit in his song credit that this folk song is being used from this particular audio originality came from it. Anytime you are creating this is very important. Trademark and copyright can create criminal cases for you. Right? Industries बंद हो जाती है एक complaint के ऊपर if you can establish all of these things. Patents in design create civil cases. They do not stop the factory, but then they create problems for that particular industry. So avoid trademark and copyright infringement, and if anybody is doing it, you have the facility or the means to stop him or his company from doing that. The next is circuit designs. This is a business school. This is not an engineering school. I would say this is not very important. But what is the essence out of it is that anytime you have created so your mobile phone comprises of microchips. That microchips or circuit designs is copyrighted under this or they have a particular location. Geographical indication, like I said, Darjeeling PT. There will be a particular very big community of that particular geographical location coming together and telling us that this is what we have created. Plant and varieties for the industry where in India we do not allow plants in animals to be protected. आपको उसकी monopoly नहीं कर सकते. But then in 1995 India was getting oriented towards synthetic seeds or man-made plant seeds. That is why these protections could be granted. Now, what are the common mistakes that a startup does? This is very important for you guys to understand. आप अपना pitch deck बनाओगे और सारा डाटा उसमें लिखो. And then that pitch deck you will send to multiple VCs and angel investors. What has that done? That has done is that you have lost the meaningless of it. Because now multiple VCs, angel investors know about your product. When you will make the contract as the founders also, so let's suppose these two people form a company. They create an IP for the company. But then there is no specific contract. Who does this belong to? Once the company goes down. Currently, there are 70% startups which fails in first 3 years, and almost 50% startups that fail in next 2 years. So approximately within 5 years, you guys will, kind of dissolve the company and then move on to your lives. But who does that IP belong to? You don't specifically make it. A lot of times you will hire freelancers, but then you don't sign a work to hire agreement. We will create a copyright for you. Pay him the money as well, but then अगर आपका contract में नहीं लिखा है, तो वो copyright उसी का रहेगा. You have to specifically sign a note to have agreement that I have seen you created this copy, great. I have paid you, now this IP belongs to me because I have paid it. But that has to be written in the agreement. India has a problem, or any state has a problem. Legal is all about the facts. And that is why these legal documentation, creating these programs is for the fact that you have these in the written document, nobody can deny it. The next is, a lot of times you will create websites and use photos of a brand. Instagram पे ना बहुत सारे पेज लाते हैं, 90 रुपए पेज होते हैं, across copy and copy. That is a copyright contract, copyright infringement. But then, like they do not know about it or they don't care about it because they are earning in billions and somebody is earning in lakhs is not creating a problem for them. The moment he starts creating a problem, he will do this. A lot of the time you will use foreign people pictures, on that particular industry. That picture is copyright. And that copyright belongs to that particular company. I think in last 1 year I have settled around 70 copyright cases because website के ऊपर किसी का गलत फोटो लगा हुआ है. That is not you are not supposed to copy it. You are supposed to take inspiration and then make your own content. The next is you do not sign IP agreements with your team. You will have a technical core team, you all into business management, CTO will be there. That CTO can then use the same technology and start his own company. It is your job to make sure that any IP that has been created in the company remains in the company. Nobody else can copy it. Even if the director is trying to create a new company, he cannot. A person, आप सब लोग अपनी individual PAN card भरोगे, company अपनी अपनी PAN card भरता है. So there are two separate entities. You do not mix and match. It's very important to know here. आप अपनी अपनी team से agreement sign करोगे that they cannot use your strategy, your workflows, your process in the company to start up and create something for a new company. Great team. You can have the inspiration. Inspiration is not bad. Albert Einstein, न्यूटन के बाद किसी ने कुछ नया create नहीं किया. Product industry का इस्तेमाल. Everybody goes into a particular industry, finds a problem in that product, creates a new product out of it. Great. But taken the inspiration, solved it, that's perfectly fine. Now, how do you create an asset in startup company? Like evaluation, if you look at Microsoft or Apple, 80% of their evaluation is into IT. देखिए Apple के अगर आज की डेट में $100 बिलियन की वैल्यूएशन है, उसमें से $80 बिलियन सिर्फ IT का है. Remaining 20 is only to the product, manufacturing plant or some other movable land or movable land. But बाकी सारे इस 80 billion is into the startups in the IP that they have created, patent, trademark. Currently they say you will have to pay around approximately $10 billion for Apple to give you the license or authorization to use it, because they know that the moment you sell it to them, their product will skyrocket. I think you all would have heard there was a time span like 5 or 7 months back, Distillery was getting sold. Distillery was getting sold for 700 CRs and the Tata was ready to buy it. Why was Tata interested in buying Distillery for 7,000 CRs? For a single point of contact. The next day they will launch a juice, Distillery juice. Everybody is going to buy it because we all have the reputation and trust that the mineral water जो Distillery का आता है वो सबसे अच्छा होता है. Even if you guys go out, you won't buy Distillery का Distillery, you will only look into Distillery है या नहीं. They came a brand in Shark Tank who used a strategy of green color. Distillery expired in 3 seconds because when they went into the Shark Tank they knew कि हमारा प्रोडक्ट है, वो वहाँ पे खुद कबूल कर रहे थे स्टेशन में Distillery का प्रोडक्ट बिकता है ग्रीन कलर की पैकेजिंग में, तो हमने भी ग्रीन कलर ले रखा है. खुद ही इंफ्लुएंस कबूल कर लिया करो चीज. So that is why it's very important, and that is where you will need people like me to give you the strategies. Anytime you are going to create a company, you are going to create something out of it. Right? आप कुछ भी create कर सकते हो. And like I said, आप जब भी कुछ create करोगे, there is some kind of an idea, and we will help you in assessing those कि आप इसको populate करो, increase the evaluation. There are times that you will keep on using it, but there are also many times आपकी evaluation को बढ़ाने में that's why it is important to do it on year-to-year basis. जब आप नया product launch कर रहे हो तब. Next is you have documented proof. Once I get a document from the government that I am the trademark owner, I am the copyright owner, can anybody challenge it? Of course they can challenge it with the court. But then it is their duty now to prove it that this is not my ownership. I have got an RC out of it, I have only got a certificate out of it. It is your job to monitor, like I said. Intellectual property is your assets. You have to protect it. A lot of the time people confuse कि मैंने trademark ले लिया, अब इनको trademark registry inform करेगी कि बिना इसमें copy करें. No. They have given you the certificate. Now it is your job to ensure that this does not get copied. There are 3 ways to do it. First, you do it in your particular industry. Second, you hire agencies like us and tell them I have this particular trademark or this product and tell me who has infringed it. The third, you hire detective agencies to find out if somebody has got a similar product or launched a similar product. And whenever you believe that there has been an infringement, you have to enforce it. I'll give an example. हमारे हुआ है. So there's a restaurant that is in the name of ABC. ABC is their name, and they are operating in Agra. In 2022, they got to know there is an ABC X5 working and operating in Mumbai in the hotel industry only. They send them a page. They send them कि आप copy मत करो, don't copy it. This is a clear infringement of our trademark. You are using our logo also. Don't do this. They said whatever you want to do, you do. For some XYZ reason, they did not file a case. Now when we filed a case against them, the very first thing that court said to us was, why have you come to us after 3 years? If you are not serious about your brand and if you are not serious about protecting your assets, why should the government care about it? There is a case of check recovery or money recovery that if you do not ask for your money within 3 years, that money is then forfeited. Let's suppose आपने एक वेंडर से 5 साल पहले आपने किसी वेंडर से पेमेंट की कुछ लिया, अगर आपने 3 साल के उसको केस नहीं करा तो ये माना जाएगा कि आपने जानबूझकर उसके ऊपर पैसा छोड़ दिया है. Similarly, you have to enforce it ASAP. There is no question asked about it. You can initiate a small process, but initiate that process. Now, you can register your company startups. Startup India website is great, doing well now. There are multiple things that are there. Angel investors, VC, networking events. I think one back there was the startup Mahakumbh government by the startup companies of India. So all these startup companies along with angel investors and VCs came together. Now, like I said, patent is one of the biggest assets here. And that is why they have fast-tracked the patent process. Normally, it takes around 2 to 6 years to get a patent granted. But if you have a startup certificate, the maximum time the government can take is 2 years. That's a huge relief for companies. The next is you have 80 to up to 80% rebate in IPR. Patents में rebate है, trademarks में rebate है, copyright में नहीं है, designs में नहीं है. That is why I say up to 80%. The next is the startup also facilitates a lot of free and legal lawyers. We were at a time there when we were starting helping out startup on free basis. Now we don't, but there are still many legal lawyers and IT professionals who are doing it on pro bono cases and helping you out right now. And the third is, if you have a startup certificate, if you have an MSME certificate, there are a lot of grants available. 20 lakhs for product to get into prototype stage. MSMEs can have up to 60% money for setting up and buying their manufacturing plant along with the machineries that they need. So government is trying to help. Yes, of course, when you go to government, it is going to take time. Because the government is not going to issue your money within first day. They are going to do their due diligence and it is going to take time. And if you have investors lately, I think I have done every part of it. आप लोग सब स्टार्टअप खोलने वाले हो, क्या क्या सवाल है आपके पास? Either you guys are not trading into startups at the moment, you have not decided what the industry you are going to do it. जब आप एक startup company form कर रहे होंगे, you will have founders with you guys. So a lot of time friends will come into the picture. दो दोस्त करके startup company form कर रहे हैं. Make sure you have founders agreement. Make sure you have shareholder agreements with you. Reason being, worst case scenario, जब आप अच्छे होते हैं ना, जब आप खुश होते हो तो आप कोई भी एग्रीमेंट कुछ भी पेपर पे साइन करने को तैयार रहते हैं. जब दो दोस्तों के बीच में लड़ाई हो जाती है ना, कोई पेपर साइन नहीं होता, कुछ नहीं होता, बस के दवा में बात होती है. That is why it's very important that the day you are forming out your company, have these founder agreements, have these shareholder agreements. There is one company that has lost around 50 lakh rupees. Company का evaluation इतना हो चुका था. As per the founder agreement, it was never decided कि कब आपको पैसा मिलेगा कब नहीं मिलेगा. As per the founder agreement, there was 50%, 50% each. कंपनी की वैल्यूएशन बढ़ गई. 2 साल बाद दूसरा वाला फाउंडर ने कोई जॉब ज्वाइन कर ली, but he was still the part of it because he had 50% shares in it. And the moment he had 50% share in the company का evaluation increase हुआ, they said कि इसको बाहर निकालो. Evaluation इतना strong था, he had to pay around 50 lakh rupees just to buy out 50% share of it. There is a clause that you can put in that founder agreement that if you do not work for 3 years in this particular company or you do not give the 3 years to this company, you will are forfeiting your shares. यानी कि अगर वो 3 साल से पहले जा रहा है, उसको कोई पैसा नहीं मिल सकता, वो कोई शेयर में क्लेम नहीं कर सकता. But this can only be done on happy days, not on the bad days. Agreements are not for good days. Contracts are not for good days. They are always for the bad days, and it's always nice to do it on the first day. I don't know if you guys know about it or not. जब हम कैश लेने जाते हैं किसी से, आपके पापा लोग को बेचते हैं कैश लेने के लिए. आपके पापा लोग बोलते हैं बेटा खेल के आना उनके सामने. रीजन नहीं, अगर इनको ज़्यादा या कम हुआ तो उनके मुझे वही बता सकते. घर आके फोन करो सर, एक फोन कम आया था तो लेट हो गया था, आने लेट हो गया. Thus, for startups, it's very important that you are doing it on you are on your toes, assessing the property which you have, and trying to figure out हम उसे कैसे predict कर सकते हैं. Next, vendors अच्छे choose करो. Make sure you have good vendors. Do not go for CMOs, CTOs on the very first day. I mean, if you have the funds and value, great. Make sure you have a profitable business. Don't go for cash and burn strategies. आजकल बहुत सारे businesses ऐसे cash and burn के काम करते हैं. See, any investor loves companies which are in profit. Right? Physics वाला की इसमें भी सबसे बड़ी valuation है. There was Byju's at one time, there were IIT, there were NIIT, Education Institute, but they were always burning money at the end of the day. No. This is my personal opinion. But then there is a company called Amazon, who आज की डेट में profitable नहीं है. But if you look at their balance sheet, वो हर साल जितना पैसा बच रहा होता है वो सारा नए इवेंट्स, नए प्लांट्स, नए मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेटअप्स में लगा रहे होते हैं. So in fact, on paper there were loss, but if you look at it on the real world, हमने वो 2 करोड़ की प्रॉपर्टी खरीद चुका है. लास्ट में तो बन गया. That is what is the smartest way to go for the business. आप सब यहाँ पे business करने के लिए who will become either the CEOs or CEOs of the companies. It's your job to make sure कि आपके businesses fail ना हो. It's your job to make sure कि आपके businesses या जिस भी कंपनी के अंदर आप जाओगे वहाँ पे सारी चीजें एलिमेंट में है या नहीं. And one of the biggest things is anything that is on paper cannot be denied. So have very strong papers. Have very strong employee kit, exit kit, contracts, NDAs, MOU. They might look how should I say that? They might look silly to you guys right now. One of my friends invested around 30 lakh rupees in a QSR food chain. Supposedly he was going to get his money back within 18 months. But it was an handshake deal. And now he has to go to the court after 3 years, fight his case for another 3 years, and then there is a possibility that he might earn his money. So make sure everything is on papers. अपने दोस्त के साथ भी भरोसा मत करो. Don't trust your family also. Startup company like I said, the moment you form an LLP or a private limited company, उसका अपने different plans are. Take out salaries from your companies. आप अपनी salary बना के रखो. No worries in that. Create program में ESOP लिए थे. ESOP are for employees. He went into saving. उन्होंने वहाँ पे कुछ stocks buy करे. Stocks buy करते क्योंकि no sorry not Paytm. Paytm owner gave himself around 15,000 ESOP per share. ESOPs are for the employees, not for the higher management. He went on and got into the stocks. मैं अपने stocks को बेचना चाहता हूँ. So SEBI से पहले आप अपने शेयर बेचो. This is not for you. This is for the employees. So having those kind of protections, benefits is going to help you out. I know this was supposed to be idea, but you're all from the business industry. What do you guys think about startup? What are the theories? कुछ पूछोगे तभी मैं कुछ बता पाऊंगा, वरना ये खत्म हो चुका है. ये बात अपने संतान को बचाएं. My details, if you want to contact me, you can. I'll tell you where to contact us. शायद आप नहीं हुआ है, strictly on my degree, but maybe future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an insightful and engaging session. Your practical advice and expertise on IP protection and management will surely help aspiring entrepreneurs among us to better safeguard their innovations. May I now request Dr. Suruchi Satsami ma'am to kindly present a memento to Mr. Divyanshu Yadav as a token of our appreciation and gratitude. A huge thank you to all the participants and the organizing team for making today's session a success. Wishing everyone a wonderful day ahead. Thank you so much for your time.